Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I'm your host, Lisa. I am the founder of the Wonder of Anime, and my work spans across my blog, my YouTube channel, and of course, this podcast. And this week, I am so excited to have one of my dream guests that I've had her name written on like people to reach out to for years. But I'm so glad that the stars aligned and I can get her on now. And that is Lauda. Lauda is a 35-year-old content creator on YouTube, TikTok, and Substack. Lauda enjoys creating content about shojo, josei, BL, yuri, and LGBTQ plus manga. And this year, she's been documenting libraries across San Diego. Lauda also has a gaming channel where she shares her love for Project Sekai and other rhythm games. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. I'm glad, but like I mentioned when introducing you, I've been a fan of yours probably since I got on TikTok. I feel like I'm not really on TikTok right now, but when I got on TikTok, you were one of like the first accounts that I followed back then, and still now. You were Sweat and Soap Lauda, and I'm a huge Sweat and Soap fan. So that was my introduction to you, but I've learned through like your other content that you've actually been creating content for years and years. So I wanted to start there about your content creating journey in general and how you got started.
Yeah, I've been creating YouTube videos since 2009. So it was like way before they even allowed any monetization. Like people were just going to this new video platform with absolutely no goals. It was just like we were uploading just to see if our page would like land on someone else that, had the same interest as you. So I got started just posting like little vlogs and stuff. And then from there, one of my favorite bands is The Killers. So I started posting about like their like it was kind of like a news type show, like their upcoming tour dates. And this was when they were still on the new album cycle. So there was a lot to talk about. And then from there, it went to beauty because people kept asking me about like my makeup. And I did like the whole YouTube beauty guru thing till like 2020 almost. And that's when I was like, I don't know if it's like worth it anymore to be creating content. And with quarantine, I just like dove into like my anime obsession when I was a kid. And I started wanting to discover manga. So when I started posting about manga in 2021 on TikTok, it was through the eyes of someone who's an adult that was like discovering manga for the first time. So I'm like, maybe there's other adults that are getting like into manga for the first time, like this late in life. And it just like, I don't know. I was expecting to like just post like one or two videos. I didn't think it was gonna turn into its own thing, but it did. I just kind of went along with the flow, and yeah, I've been doing it for like 4.5 years now. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a lot of fun, like showing off like my nerdy side and everything.
Yes, and I love what you said about the perspective of being an adult in the space and being new to manga.
Mhm.
Because similarly, I was lucky enough that I discovered anime really young and manga really young too, thanks to the library.
Mhm.
So I had been into manga like all my life, but before I too in 2020, I think starting in 2019, I started shifting my content towards anime and manga,
Mhm.
and I specifically wanted to do like from an adult because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it took me so long to get on TikTok because I was like it's people like 10 years younger than me on here, and I'm not like an age shamer, but sometimes like what we're looking for is just completely different.
Mhm.
And I think that's what always drew me to your content. Like you always said your age and you had been like working in like a similar type of industry, and I was like, okay, this feels like somebody like me. So I'm like, when
Mhm.
you're recommending series or you're talking about things, I'm like, okay, we can relate on that life experience. And
Yeah.
I find that I was like, yes, this is what I'm gravitating towards. Not saying that younger people can't make good content,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
sometimes isn't relatable.
Yeah, and like when I started going onto TikTok to find other people recommending manga, I kept finding a lot of like 20 somethings, which is fine because I was able to still get a few like really good recommendations. But I really wanted manga that I could relate to. And I wasn't finding too many creators like my own age, so then I started just putting myself out there, and people started finding me that were, close to my age range. So at least I was able to talk about like these series with people my age, which was a lot of fun. And that's how I came across like Sweat and Soap and Wotakoi. I'm like, okay, office romances. That's like, that's my thing.
Yeah, it is. So I think too, this perspective of being older, it's like I think the biggest comeback to anything that like people think they own you is they're like, get a job, you're too
Oh,
old. And I'm
yes.
like, who runs the, you think that Crunchyroll's being run by a 20-year-old right now? Like, so it's, I always love like people my age, and almost all like the people that I've met through content creation are around my age, either
Hmm.
about to turn 30 or in their 30s or
Yeah.
older. And I'm like, I know that like, and I think it's just a symptom of being in your 20s where you feel like you know everything.
Hmm.
And it comes with this kind of like I'm invincible kind of ignorance, but it's like,
Yeah.
who do you think has the money to be buying manga? It's definitely not people struggling in their 20s. Like it's
Uh-huh.
definitely established adults, and who has money for the cons and the cosplay and all that stuff. A lot
And
of
all
it
the
is
merchandise too. And merchandise gets
it's
expensive.
so, especially if you're trying to get like official things that are like
Uh-huh.
made like we're the ones keeping the industry alive monetarily.
Yes. I feel
So
like
I,
there's this bad like stereotype that the anime fan is just like unemployed,
mhm.
but no. Like all of this, the background, no. That costs money.
I think I have another shelf that's my clamp shelf over there.
Uh,
I'm like, God forbid I lose my job. Like I gotta sell this stuff. Like I could maintain us for a couple of months with the sales
uh,
of these things. Like it's not. It's definitely. And now I think too. Like it's getting more expensive. Everything's
mhm.
getting pricier. It's like yeah, the fans keeping the industry alive are not the people that everybody on TikTok is like, get off this. You're too old. It's like no, I'm not.
No, just like step foot inside an anime convention or any convention, as a matter of fact. Like I know San Diego Comic Con is more geared towards like Western comics and Western like franchises, but still it's like people 30 plus. A lot of it is people 30 plus.
Yeah, and we're the ones with the PTO that could go.
Hmm.
Like, so I think that's always why I was like, I love like your content and that too, and I find specifically because around 2020 was also that time where I got to Sweat and Soap.
Hmm.
Um, what's the other one that's like Office Wotakoi?
What the yeah.
And then like all the Office BLs, and it's
Like,
like yeah, I'm like yeah, let's look at this job. Like
mhm.
let's, and it's actually funny because I discovered Wotakoi. I used to write articles for CBR, and one of his
Okay.
like I did a listicle on like animes that take place in the workplace, and I was
Uh,
like, Wotakoi, what is this? And that's how I got into it. But it's like yeah, there's a lot of series that feature adults and that are like targeted and have the whole josei and seinen, like
mhm.
those demographics are because there's older people who enjoy those.
Yeah, exactly. There's always
So
something out there for us.
and I love that. I think a lot of people need that perspective to like jump in. Like it's like
Hmm.
it's not just people are like, oh, romance is high school, and it's like no, but if you stay there, that's all that you
Hmm.
will find.
Yes.
So the other thing that I think it's so cool, I feel like it's like it goes kind of hand in hand. I feel like when you fall into the like anime, like whole like there's certain things that people are like, all right, here you go. Here's your manga pass. Here's your
Uh,
gotcha games pass. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like it's only a matter of time before an anime fan goes there. But you also have I think you have like a separate account where you
Hmm.
talk about this game, and I'm so sorry. I don't know anything about this game except for what I watch you talk about.
Yeah, Project
It's
Sekai.
Project- and you're like I feel like you're so big in this space because I'll see that like you'll post something and people are like in your comments like, what about this other thing? What about this announcement? So I'm like, when people
Yeah.
are asking you to report, I'm like, you're a big person in that community. So for those who don't know, the uninitiated like me, what is
Mhm.
Project Sekai and what is this community about?
Yeah, so it's a mobile rhythm game that is based around like Vocaloid. I feel like when it first launched, it was sold as a Vocaloid rhythm game, but the Vocaloids kind of played a supporting role in that game. So it's a whole new cast of characters that are inspired by Vocaloid music, and you're following basically a bunch of teenagers trying to, fulfill their dream of becoming a musician. So it's kind of like you're rooting for the underdogs, depending on which genre you like. There's a group for you. If you like more like urban hip hop, like there's a group that's more inspired by that. If you like typical like Japanese J-pop idol music, there's a group for that. J-rock, there's a group for that. So apart from like the rhythm game component, which is what drew me in initially, because I used to play Project Diva on the Nintendo Switch, but that one is very limited. Like a lot of the music is locked behind like DLCs, which I know a lot of gamers hate that. It's like you pay for the game and then you're stuck paying for like packs of 6 songs here, packs of 6 songs here, and then it just becomes way too expensive. So with this game, like when it first came out, it had over 100 or something songs just like free to play. I'm like, okay, we're good. At this point, there's, I believe, like close to 500 songs that are just free to play. Of course, since there's like the gotcha element, they try to get you with that. But if you truly wanted to be like free to play, there's a ton of free content for like anyone to enjoy, which is a big something that attracts a lot of players. And from there, you have like your stories as well. So each character has their own like dedicated story. Each unit has their own story, and it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like the best storytelling ever, but for like a gotcha game, I feel like some of them are actually pretty deep stories. Some of them deal with like depression and trauma or parental neglect as well. So I'm like, oh, okay. So they're not just like sugarcoating the struggles that a lot of teenagers do deal with. And apart from that, you also have all the music as well. So apart from a lot of the like Vocaloid songs that get covered, both like newer songs as well as like classics that, I started listening to Vocaloid like in my late teens, early 20s. So there's, those songs that just kind of bring you back to like the early 2000s, but you also get a lot of new music as well that's recorded specifically for the game as well. And the music is genuinely really good. And then if you're a fan of anime, there's a lot of anime voice actors that voice in that game. One of the Wotakoi voice actors voices in the game as well, so his character is my favorite character. And it's so funny because he sounds exactly the same as Hirotaka from Wotakoi. I'm like, oh, if Hirotaka knew how to sing, that would be him.
This is him. And this is the AU of him.
Yeah. So it's just a fun game. I will say, like, if you download the English version, the fandom is very young. So much like when I got into creating videos about manga, I just kind of wanted to put a face to like, hey, there's adults to play this game. And we've been into Vocaloid for a very long time. And of course, that is always met with some negativity because then you get like oh, get a job. Like you're too old for this and stuff like that. But then you do end up finding a community of people who are like, oh my God, this is like, the first content creator around my age that I've seen that likes the same things that I do. So then you kind of just start building a community from there.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I watch those videos. I don't even know what you're talking about. You'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm watching, I see the angles, but I love people just talking about what they love. And I
Mhm.
think that it's so important to share like what you love, especially now, especially in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
times that we live in. And
Mhm.
I think the reason I wanted to talk about that too, because I'm someone, I do consider myself a gamer. I like play on my Switch and stuff. I also have a folder of like just mobile games on my phone.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and sometimes I'll have like a mobile game I get addicted to for like 2 months, and then I'll like switch over. And it's something that like people don't like. One time my sister came over and then she was playing a mobile. I'm like, I didn't even know you play a game like this. And it's
uh-huh.
something that a lot of times people just will have a random game on their phone and you just kind of like don't think of it. And I love that like you make content about it, and it's so like it's so, there's so much about it. Like people are
Mhm.
staying up and watching the broadcast from Japan and finding
Yeah.
out like the characters and things like that. And it's like that's so new to me, but I'm like that's just so cool. Like I think that's like I feel like the one, and I'm not one of those like I hate the weebs where like Japan does everything better. Like I'm not one of those
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
But what I will say is there's a certain aspect of fandom that I
Mhm.
really love how fandom is over there, where it's a much
Yeah.
more community based
Yeah.
fandom, where here it's like okay, you have conventions, but then that's kind of ends where they're doing like cafe collaborations,
Mhm.
and there's a McDonald's collab or something, and there's so much like they're starting to do that now in the US, but
Mhm.
still not to that level. And I love that that's one thing Japan has done where it's like let's make this like yes it's them trying to get money, but also it's like cool like hey let's all meet up and go to this cafe and see if we
Mhm.
can get our favorite character in a standee or something.
Yeah, and it's not even like when I went to Japan recently in November, like you would just go to like a regular cafe or restaurant and you would see like women partaking in oshikatsu. So they would bring like their acrylic stands and their plushies, and then they would just like set them up on the table and then just take pictures and just, chat. And a lot of the women that I would come across that were doing this were, I mean, I didn't ask their age or anything, but they looked like they were either like 20 or 30 plus, and they were just like freely taking their Ita bags and their plushies and stuff without like feeling like other people would judge them. And even going to like stores like Animate or Book Off and just trying to, look at manga, like there were a lot of people my age, and it just felt very like freeing, like just
Hmm.
being among people that love the same things that you do, that won't judge you for the things that you like, and you can just like relax and nerd out, I guess.
It's the best. And it's I feel like, and this is gonna when that meme that's like your friend that's too woke,
Uh-huh.
but this is why I have an issue when people hate like on those big hot topic graphic tees and they're like I need
Mm.
subtle anime
Yeah, yeah,
merch.
yeah.
And I'm like I think part of that comes from the fact that you don't want to be perceived as an anime fan, and you
Mhm.
only want like others like if you know type of
Yeah, yeah,
situation. And I really find that like here there's so much of a judgment based aspect
yeah.
where
Mhm.
it is people that are like oh I don't want anybody to perceive me
Yeah,
as an
yeah.
anime fan like secretly here's my anime layer. And it's kind of weird where I feel like a lot
Mhm.
of people find refuge online. Like there's a
Yep.
lot of anime content creators, but then those same people are like outside in their regular lives and they're
Mhm.
not wearing anime merch because they don't want to be perceived.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember a lot of time, like, especially when I first started making videos in 2021, 2022 about manga, people would ask me, like, oh, don't you get embarrassed buying, like, BL? I'm like, no, like, why would I? If the store is selling it, I mean, when I worked retail, all I want to do is just, like, get you in, get you out. There's a line of people that I need to check out. Like I'm not gonna be like judging every single thing that you buy. So I'm like, why worry about these like I guess almost like fake scenarios that are playing in your head? Like, oh, are they gonna judge me because I brought this and that? I'm like, no.
No.
And even if they're like, oh, what is this? Like, then they're gonna you're one out of I don't know how many people they check out per hour. It's like you're not gonna leave a lasting impression.
No.
That person just wants to finish their workday. Trust me.
And that's what I really like creating content about anime in like this era of my life. Like, I don't know, I'm one of those like, your 30s are amazing, the best. And I do really think like we're all in our prime, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
feel like the level of caring, if you did care, just completely goes out the window. You're like, I'm grown, I pay bills. Like, I
Right.
don't I don't care you to see me with my stack of manga at
Yeah.
Barnes and Nobles.
I feel like I've had mostly like really good interactions with the cashiers. Like it's never been like awkward or anything. Like I end up like striking conversations like, "Oh, have you read like this other BL by the same mangaka?" I'm like, "Oh, no, I haven't." So then we just end up like chatting. That's pretty much it. I feel like having this not sc- not I guess like a fear of being judged, like it's just you end up just limiting yourself.
You do. And there's so many
Mhm.
people that I've struck up conversations with because I'm wearing an anime shirt. And they're like,
Mhm.
this is so funny. I've never watched Naruto.
Uh-huh.
And I have so many Naruto shirts because when I used to work at Burlington, like as a part-time
Oh,
job.
yeah, yeah,
And anytime they get an anime shirt, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just gonna buy this. And like,
yeah.
that's the one where I've had people like strike up conversations. And I'm like, yes, I was like, I'll be honest, I don't know anything about this. And I dare you to question my fandom, because then I will pull out my clamp knowledge and you will be embarrassed. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I definitely think that fear of perception really like stops people.
Mhm.
And something you said, like when people like have these narratives in their head. I saw this TikTok recently, and it was like, it was somebody stitching a video, and the video was like, like, how do you have confidence, like be yourself? And somebody was like, when you are thinking that someone's thinking bad things about you, what you're actually doing is that you're thinking those bad things about yourself, and then you're thinking bad about that person and putting your negative thoughts in that person. And they're like, in reality, you're the mean one. And I was like, that's so true. Cause like you're being mean about yourself.
Yeah.
And instead of you thinking like, I'm thinking I'm so weird, you're imagining this other person thinking that you're weird. Like you're doing extra work
Yeah.
to justify being mean to yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
I
And
was
I've
like,
seen that like sentiment a lot too. Like a few weeks ago on Twitter, I came across something very similar, but about oshikatsu and like, oh, do you think people would stare at me weird if I'm taking pictures of like my plushie? I'm like, no. It's not like you're gonna stand there and take, I don't know, 100 pictures of that plushie. It's like you just take it and then you just put it back in your bag. Like nobody cares.
especially this day and age where everybody's taking pictures of everything. Like I'd
Yeah,
rather
I
you
mean,
take a picture of a plushie than a person.
I feel like now too, just carrying like an anime plush or a plushie in general in your purse is so normalized thanks to Labubu's, because most people are like at least familiar with that one. But like, yeah, nobody really cares.
No, that's that's a lesson to be learned here. No one cares as much as you
No.
think that they do, and if they do, well, you found that one random person that was just waiting for that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So on today, we're gonna go ahead and get into today's episode and today's topic, which I am so excited about because it's always 50-50 when I have guests come on to talk about an anime. It's either a series that I've never seen or a series that I love.
Hmm.
Because the whole point is to talk about the wonder of the show and how it makes you happy. And there's only a sign of affection is one where I knew it had to be a special person to talk about this, because when I love something a lot, I don't want anyone to talk about it. I don't want to hear
Uh-huh.
anyone's thoughts. No, like that's mine. No. And especially when the anime came out, I was like, I had to mute it. I was like, I don't want to hear anybody talk about this at all. But when you suggest, I was like, yes, I trust you. I know your heart from social media. So I knew that you'd be a good person for this. So I always start off saying my relationship. I have seen the anime and I love
Hmm.
the anime. I love this actually much lower on my shelf, but I'm like, it's not in view. So I had to move it up and temporarily rearrange things so it can be seen on the shelf. But
Hmm.
you are here and you're going to talk about a sign of affection. So, for those who don't know, what is a sign of affection?
So it is a manga written and illustrated by Japanese duo Sumo Shita. It began serialization in 2019, and then the English publication began in 2021. So this was like when I was starting to like post about manga on TikTok. And the anime came out in 2024. It ran from January through March. Yeah, of 2024. And it was done by a studio that I'm actually not super familiar with. It was Agiando Studio, but they did a beautiful job. And one of the reasons why I feel like they did such a really good job adapting this manga is because they really incorporated the creators of the series. Like they played a big role in how the series was animated, especially making sure that the sign language in the series was animated properly. So you could really tell that the creators lend a huge hand in the adaptation, because I feel like especially we have been going through like a shojo renaissance as of late, but you can kind of tell when a series is, you know, they have consulted with the creators and when they haven't, and it's just kind of like animated and like here you go.
Take it.
Here's the adaptation. But there was just like this amount of love and care put into the anime adaptation that just really, personally, as a manga first fan of the series, it just made me very happy to see it adapted with so much thought and care. Yeah.
I feel the same way,
Uh-huh.
and I'm never manga first
Mm.
ever. So now because I've been reading so much, I unfortunately end up being. But I never like to be manga first because I feel like then the anime can only disappoint you, or like you love it or hate it. Whereas if you discover the anime first, and then the manga is always feels like a fresh new world, and then if
Mm.
they adapt it well, you're like, wow, yes, this is amazing. And then if they didn't, you're like, wow, but still now I have this amazing, like, you win either way. But I discovered A Sign of Affection. This is in full transparency. I discovered it before it was licensed in English, which is it's not something
Okay.
that I do anymore. But at
Uh-huh.
the time I did, and I didn't read much of it though, because I am the a huge reason why I do not read unlicensed is because I'm very picky,
Mm.
and I'm like, this is not to my quality standards. So, but I
Mm.
immediately loved it. So as soon as it started being licensed, I was like, gimme, gimme, gimme. I put my
Mm.
best friend onto it. It's one of her favorite series now. And when I discovered they were animating it, I was like, oh my God. I
Yeah, yeah.
prayed for the creator adaptation, like for them to be as involved, because
Mm-hmm.
and I think you'll know this from reading like the manga, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but there's so much that they put into the story in the after notes and like
Yes.
their whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as someone who read the manga, it becomes clear because like you already know what their process is when they were creating it, and
Mm-hmm.
like their little comments about certain things, so you're
Yeah, yeah.
like, when you see that reflected in the anime, you're like, yep, you were there because I remember when you said this on page
Mm-hmm.
whatever in your
Yeah, yeah.
after note.
Yeah, when they first announced that it was going to get animated, I was very happy. But then, like, I feel like a lot of shoujo anime just gets done so dirty. And I mean, if I want to go like super back in time, like the Sailor Moon 90s anime completely disregarded Naoko Takeuchi's like intentions. It grabbed characters and made them completely different from what she wrote in the manga. So it's like over history, like there's so many female mangaka that have been kind of screwed over by people in the Japanese anime industry. So I just didn't want them to ruin one of my favorite stories. And thankfully, they didn't.
Yes, they, and I think that is a big reason why I'm always like never wanting an anime for something that I love. And that is so
Hmm.
unpopular. I have gone on record. I do not want a sweat and soap anime
Oh,
at all.
I don't want one either. And people ask
Never.
me all the time, I'm like, I unless they're willing to animate everything, I don't want it.
Yes, but we have a whole side podcast on Wotakoi because not Wotakoi on Sweat and Soap because I'm like those scenes are I've gone into arguments
Hmm.
with people on Twitter because I'm like those scenes are integral to the plot and if they're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
animated correctly then it doesn't serve the story.
Mm-mm.
So we're here, and that's how I felt with. I was excited, but I was like, you know what, like. I think being a shojo fan for all your life, you're just like you just brace yourself. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like at least I have the manga. Like if you do me wrong,
Hmm.
anime, at least I have the manga. So what is A Sign of Affection about?
So they're both in college. So we have a young college girl who is deaf and has lived a life where, she's very limited with her world scope. And one day as she's in the train commuting, she ran across this I don't remember if it was an American or British man. I just remember
Yeah.
the tourist spoke English and he approached her trying to ask for help and she just kind of stood like, dude, I can't hear anything. And then a very handsome young man steps in and, helps him out and he speaks like fluent English. And she just kind of watches this interaction and then he notices like, oh, she's not reacting. They're like, is there something more to her? And he learns pretty quickly that she is deaf. She speaks through sign language, and they happen to go to the same school. I feel like with a lot of people that get introduced to this series, when they first see Itsuomi, the male lead, they're kind of like, ugh, who's this dude?
Mhm.
Who's this stuck up dude that like travels the whole world? But yes, he does travel. He's very like handsome and kind of seems very unattainable within that small circle of people. But he finds a genuine interest in Yuki, our main female lead, and it goes past like, oh, I want to know more about her, and he wants to enter her world. So through their interactions, he gets to learn more about her world and actually takes up like learning sign language, and she gets to learn more about the outside world through him, showing her pictures of his travels and just learning more about these foreign places that she has only ever seen through like books and like the internet and stuff like that. Like she didn't know anyone that would actually travel to all those places. So, yeah, it's just a very slice of life. And you get to like see their interactions with like their friends and family, but their relationship or how it begins is just so pure and like he's so respectful too that it's just lovely to see a very different type of like couple portrayed in the shoujo series.
Yes, I love them so much.
Yeah, no, me too.
So how did you get introduced to A Sign of Affection in general?
I think it was through TikTok actually. Yeah, probably Colleen.
Hmm.
I'm thinking, yeah, most likely Colleen.
I just had coffee too. Love them. So, when did you know that it was one of your favorites? Like, what was there a specific moment, there's a specific time where you're like, this is going on the favorites list
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
immediately?
Well, it was like soon after I finished volume one, I was like, oh, I need more. And as like the volumes came out, like each volume, I just kept falling more and more in love with the story, especially like, e- like after you read the after notes, like you just see how much love and care has been put into this story, and it just made me fall in love with it even more because it's not just like two like able-bodied mangaka trying to be different and like
Mhm.
no they really did put in the effort and consult with people who are deaf and wanted to present like the sign language accurately on illustrated. So yeah, it's just like I don't know, there's something very something to admire about that level of like love and care because I have seen other like manga series that portray, a deaf like female lead, but I feel like a lot of times they get portrayed as like almost like very childlike, and there is
Mhm.
that childlike innocence within Yuki, but she's also someone that wants to prove, like, hey, I'm an adult woman now. Like, I can do things by myself. Just give me a chance, basically. And it's not like she's just someone that always needs someone to help her.
And with Yuki, you can tell if
Hmm.
she was not deaf, she would still be the same. Like
Yeah.
she would that her personality is like how she is. Like that's not as a result of her deafness. Like
Hmm.
some people are more shy, more
Yes.
reserved and need an extra push to be out
Hmm.
there. So when you think about or like, the sign of affection, what is something that you
Yeah.
think that people always get wrong about the series?
Oh, definitely with Itsuomi. When the when the anime came out, I saw so many videos calling him a red flag.
An abuser.
Yes, like
About to
everything. I'm
crash
like,
out.
I think I did end up stitching a few videos, or I made a video response to that because because they prefer the childhood best friend. And spoiler, I'm not a fan of the childhood friend. And if you read the manga, you will not be a fan of him either. I'm all for people, learning and changing, but people defending the childhood friend and then villainizing Itsuomi, I'm like, no, 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 you've missed the plot. You've truly missed the plot.
That's definitely one of my the Itsuomi abuser allegations. I was seeing red.
Mm,
And my thing is I don't engage in conversations online because I this is gonna sound funny, but like I know people don't have the range. Like if
mm,
you see Itsuomi as an abuser, you just do not have a range to converse with me on a level where you're gonna understand where I'm coming from. And I think with especially like for context, I used to work in a domestic violence sexual assault crisis center, so as a
mm.
community educator, so I think I know a thing or two about abusers. So I saw that and I was like, this is and it's funny because I had already muted everything on the show. At least I thought, like I was like, yeah, let me mute all these words because I didn't want to see these type of takes, and some still slipped through the cracks and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but that is what goes into like what my like common misconception is the I guess the infantilization of Yuki.
Yuki.
And I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of people paint Itsuomi as an abuser because they see Yuki as like this child who like needs to protect it and he's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
pushing her. And I'm like that I feel like if you take that away from the story, you're removing Yuki's agency from the
Hmm.
situation. And I think like yeah, she meets him like right away in that first chapter, but I feel like those first couple pages you can already tell that she has agency. She's going
Oh,
to a
yeah.
university where there's hearing people. She's not going specifically to somewhere with like that's only for disabled people. She
Hmm.
has a hearing friend
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's very fashionable. She's very cute and she's so sure of herself even before meeting him. And
Yeah.
it annoys me when people make it seem like she's changing her whole life for this relationship when it's like no, she already was this whole person and already had her own interests and clearly she has friends, she's hanging out and he's I feel like it's like wrong to think like somebody, some anytime you get in a relationship or friendship, people introduce you to new things. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you start hiking. And it's like in this case for people to villainize it and see it as a negative. Like what you're doing is you are purposely infantilizing her due to her disability.
You know what? That's exactly what the childhood friend does. It's infantilize Yuki
Mm-hmm.
and villainize Itsuomi for trying to like push his interest onto Yuki. And that, I mean, I don't want to spoil everything for people that haven't watched it, but like if you find yourself sympathizing with the childhood best friend, you're also someone that is taking the autonomy from Yuki and infantilizing her and just seeing her like, someone that needs to be protected just because she's deaf, which is, you know, as someone who's able bodied, like, is that the way you're always going to be looking at people who are disabled that they need the help? Like, they want to be normal too. They want to, you know, decide their own futures and if they want to take up some of the interests that their partner has, like let them be. That's perfectly normal for, especially when you're starting off a relationship, just wanting to get to know each other. Like, you'll start picking up like some of their interests and find ways that both of you can bond together.
Yeah, it's like if you're someone who speaks Spanish and you date a partner that doesn't, and they are learning Spanish. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's so normal.
Yeah,
That
that's
it's and it's but it's like a difference because oh she's deaf and like he's disabled and he's taking advantage of her and it's like she just can't hear. There's nothing about her that like she's not in a position where she doesn't have agency over herself. But
mm-hmm.
that definitely was something, and I think it speaks to largely like people not having disabled people in their life and
Yes.
to any capacity or not like looking at stories or perspectives from disabled people and people that are actually like afflicted with these disabilities. Like I saw a few people that like were doing this whole thing about Itsuomi being ableist. They were not deaf. They were
Mm-hmm.
like quoting a Reddit thread,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm like, I get, everyone's entitled to have opinions, but let's see what the people in the community. And there were actually a lot of
yeah.
deaf creators who
Mm-hmm.
came out and spoke about their interpretation of the series. And it's like, that's, before you go on, write a whole essay, listen to them because
Yeah.
I forget their name, but they had a video where they loved this series. They did say some things weren't perfect, but it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, let's, if someone who is in that community is saying like, okay, this person's not being taken advantage of, they're not being vandalized, I don't think it's your place as someone who's able-bodied to be like, yes, they are, they're taking advantage of her because she's deaf. It's like, you don't know that.
Yeah, I agree. And with like the sea of like videos critiquing Itsuomi, there was a lot of like deaf content creators and deaf anime fans too. The people that have like never really taken an interest in anime, and they were like, "Oh, let me check out this series because, maybe I can relate to the female lead." And they really enjoyed it. They're like, "Oh my God, it's well done." Of course, it's not ASL, but like from what they could perceive, like, okay, that's, the Japanese sign language, but it's done really well and very accurately. And I mean, it's no surprise since, the creators of the manga just, took their time to consult and make sure that everything was, done correctly. And I feel like the animators also took their time to put that love and care into actually animating the sign language to the point that, like, you can really tell as a anime viewer when they put in the extra effort and when they just animate just for like, "Hmm, here you
Hmm.
go."
Here you go, guys, shut up,
Yeah,
we don't need no
yeah.
more short. No, I get that. And the last thing I'll say before I ask the next question, and it's going to seem out there, but I feel like it makes sense. I think a lot too with the Itsuomi thing is
Hmm.
that people don't think a guy like that would want a girl like Yuki because she's deaf. It reminds me of when you see a popular show with a white male lead and the
Hmm.
love interest is black and people are like they're not in a relationship. They're just friends. They're just best friends and it's like said a million times like they're a couple or it's implied they're going to get together.
Yeah.
I feel like people have that bias of desirability be for people that are able bodied and they see a character like Itsuomi, which like let's be real, if it was an able body, if this was a whole different series and there's able bodied female lead, there'd be fan edits of
Oh
Itsuomi.
yeah.
There would be like he's the next Gojo, like he's so attractive and then
Hmm.
also he acts amazingly, but because that Yuki is deaf, immediately it's like he can't just genuinely be interested in her. He feels bad for her or he's taking advantage of her. And it's like, swap this for a regular able bodied lead. We'd never be having any of these
No,
conversations.
no. Yeah, it just brought upon like a lot of weird takes online
Hmm.
that I first like I was kind of worried that would happen, but then when I saw like the amount of those takes and a lot of rage bait content too,
Yes.
it was just kind of disappointing to see for like a series that, you know, I held very close to for years before the anime came out. It's like no, like you're interpreting this like completely wrong. And if it helps to read it instead of like seeing it animated, like please take the time to like go through and see the story that was created, you know, see the source material.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do feel like a lot of people went into it with like their, I guess, stigmas about disabilities and who's worth being loved and who isn't, I guess, which is pretty screwed up if you actually take the time to like think about.
Yeah, and I think and you'll see this on TikTok all the time where there's certain content creators that have been viral because they're in a different abled body relationship, and you'll see the comments. You'll be like, "Oh, how do they feel being with you and you're blind?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like this, like they just cannot fathom that like an able bodied person would be with a disabled person.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree, like it really brought up a lot of people's biases. And I'm usually never, I try not to be that person because I really, on the inside, I am, where I'm like, read the manga. Like, I know that's annoying. So I keep it to myself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this was one where I definitely was shouting like from the rooftops. Like, there's so much context in the after notes. And,
Yes.
you know, like there's big like chunks of information and behind the scenes that I'm like, yes, like you need to like read this. Because for the same reasons, like I think that additional context helps a lot. But I think the anime like did a really great job even without that. But
Mm-hmm.
it can only do so much if people don't have the media literacy to like interpret the messages that they're receiving.
Yep, that too.
And yeah, and so that leads me to my next question, which what is an unpopular opinion that you have about a sign of affection that you don't think that people will agree with you on?
I don't know. But I feel like for the most part, I don't have many critiques about a sign of affection. I guess like the only it wouldn't be an unpopular. I feel like it would be a popular opinion. I just wish if they did have the intention of doing season two, kind of wish they would like say it a lot quicker instead of just kind of leaving it in limbo. The ending I felt like was kind of weak, a little open ended. So I could still see like maybe they will pick up and animate and do a second season or whatever. But I just don't like being left hanging basically. It's like, oh, they had their little date at Costco and this and that. It's like, oh, she's getting her passport too. And it's like, okay, so like,
What then?
yeah, it's like there's definitely enough source material in the manga for them to like kind of pull My Happy Marriage and announce like, oh yes, we intend on animating a second season. Like, I mean, by this point, it's been over a year since the series concluded. Like, you can easily be like, yeah, we're in development, something.
Mhm.
I just hate just like getting your hopes up for a good anime adaptation. It ends up being a good anime adaptation, and then crickets.
Mhm. You're just left sad and just like, oh my, and I feel like as a seasoned shojo consumer, you know, like when you
Yeah,
see
yeah.
that last episode and you're like, they're lingering on these flowers for too long, and you're like,
Hmm.
yep, it's gonna be vague, and you just don't know.
Yeah. And especially with like, I remember soon after the last episode, Sumorishita had tweeted like that they did hope that their series was going to get picked up for a second season. So it's like you have the creators that are like,
Hmm.
hey, like we're ready to jump back on board if you're ready. But I just I don't know what's going on in like the anime industry and like their politics because they're so quick to announce a second season when it comes to like shonen and seinen romances, and then the shojo is just like,
Read the manga.
yeah,
Like, good luck. You'll
it's
never
like,
get it.
oh well, that was a commercial. Go pick up the manga if you want more.
Hmm.
And I feel like for this one, like, yeah, you could definitely make a second season.
There's so
Mm,
much. Or at least I know it's a cop out, but give us an OVA. Like I'm not. I don't know if it's over OVA. Give me one of those. Like, give me more.
mm-hmm.
I agree. My I don't want to say it's not unpopular if you have sense. I'll say that. But
Okay.
and maybe I'm trying to remember because I recently reread the manga,
Mm.
so it's like kind of fresh. But then like when it's been a while since you watched the anime, but you reread the manga, you can't remember what was animated, what wasn't.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I will say Emma is not a bad person. She's not terrible. She is actually really awesome. And I think, I mean, knowing, I'm trying to think of just the anime, even with the context of where the anime like leaves it off. I think obviously people are gonna paint her in a bad light because that scene where she's like says that thing, she doesn't know Yuki's deaf and can't hear, and then she's like, wait, that didn't have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think and again, this I can't remember if this happened in the anime or not, but I think throughout like the flashbacks of them in high school, like you really see that Itsuomi never really put his foot down with her
Yeah,
and
yeah.
was never absolutely clear, and I think it was like, I'm trying to spare your feelings and be nice. And as a result, she had all these expectations, which I think it's unfair to like characterize her like as like, oh, like she's trying to ruin the relationship, she's trying to be this. Like she just didn't know. And somebody
Mm-hmm.
was leading her on and she had a lot of like hope tied into that. And I think this would possibly be a manga spoiler, but as you see when she then starts like considering the relationship with the other friend who I'm so sorry, cannot remember his name right now.
I can't remember his name either. But he's a hairstylist if you end up watching the
Yes,
anime. Yeah.
the hairstylist. And you see that when she, like, I don't know, the way she acts as they're possibly pursuing a relationship, like, she's really is a good hearted girl and she
Mm-hmm.
really wants to be in love and wants to be in a relationship. And she feels bad that she, like, didn't realize his feelings because she was so caught up in Itsuomi. And I think it's so easy to like hate her, but again it goes into the like incredible writing of the creators that they are able to flesh her out. She could easily be like a love rival, and what it
Mm-hmm.
really is just a friend that was confused. And I love, and again, this is why it should be a season 2, because I think her arc with the hairstylist friend is so important too, because they're both kind of like, are you just with me because it didn't work out with Itsuomi? Like, what am I really
Mm-hmm.
feeling? Like, do I make a move or not? And that I feel like when I saw the reactions, I knew that was gonna be like, of course, how that one scene goes. But I definitely think in that sense, and not to paint Itsuomi as a villain, but in that sense, like, yeah, he didn't. He led her on by not being clear that there was never going to be a chance, and that is messed up. But then he does take the opportunity to be like, hey, like, or I know he tells a hairstylist to be like,
Yeah.
hey, like, you're officially in a relationship now. No, and I wish, I mean, obviously that's not how the story goes, but
Yeah.
I
Like,
do wish he kind of put his foot down and said it himself, because I
yes.
think Emma was owed that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that.
Like, she's not terrible. I didn't
Yeah,
like her at
I
first. I
feel
was like, I hate you, but
I feel like a lot of people like judge the characters a little too harshly, but it's like no one's perfect in real
hmm
life or how they're portrayed in anime. And I feel like Sumori Shita does a good job of portraying people as flawed, which, that's how humans are. Sometimes, we mess up and we misinterpret signs and we need, more experiences and like meeting other people to like learn more about the world and and hopefully you learn from it actually.
hmm yeah, I definitely agree, and I think they do such a great job of like all of these characters. No one's perfect. They're
Mm-hmm.
complicated.
Yep.
Some are more annoying than others. Childhood friend, who I also can't remember your name right now, but
Forgot her.
what is your name? And of course he's not in this at all. But yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like, is this him? No, that's not him. That's the other guy. I just
I just
think
I just remember his like bowl cut.
a sign. I'm like, I'm caught up on the manga, so I can't get spoiled. I hate googling stuff, because you ever like Google and then it'll be like, oh, your favorite character died,
Oh
they're
yeah, yeah.
deceased.
Name.
Oshi.
Oh she yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah,
then
he's right
the
here.
hairstylist. What's his name? The
Look.
hairstylist is, oh my god, you are so annoying. Why is this ad thing covering the hairstylist's name?
Yeah,
So,
I don't fully on hate him, but he
mhm.
does get on my nerves. Just because
He
he's really stubborn.
And he's really immature.
Yes.
And I think that too is and Itsuomi is being so patient and so kind with him, and I love that. I
Yes.
love that he's kind of like seeing that perspective. But I do think like it takes him a little bit too long to realize like how in the ways he's infantilizing Yuki and like making it this, I don't know, like I feel like if this is your childhood friend that you care about, like you're not going to put them in a position where they feel like they have to choose you versus someone else. Like
Hmm.
you really care about her, why are you putting her in that awkward position?
And two, he waited way too long. It's like if you had feelings for her, why wait until like she literally finds someone? You
Yes,
get
'cause-
jealous, and then you're like, "Hey, I'm right here."
and I don't trust feelings motivated by jealousy. I just don't. That's so fickle to me because if you really cared about me, you would have said that. You
Mm.
would, but you thought
Yeah.
nobody will want me because I'm disabled. I'm like, where is he? I'll fight him right now. But on a more serious note, as I'm not fighting fictional characters, when you think about a sign of affection's legacy, what do you think that it is?
I feel like it just normalizes that everyone deserves to be loved and deserves to choose their own path in life. Because, like, we have talked about, like, there was a lot of not only infantilization when it came to Oshi and how he saw his childhood friend Yuki, but also, like, her mother was overly cautious, like, hey, don't go out too late at night, and this and that. And even the way the audiences reacted, like, a lot of audiences were like looking down on Yuki. It's like, oh, she needs to be like cared and protected, and Itsuomi's taking advantage of her. And it's like, no, that she's a young adult woman who wanted to go to a regular university, be among able-bodied students. She wants to find her own path in life, and she found her own path in her own like love interest that she wants to pursue. And throughout the especially the manga, you get to see how hard she tries to do things by herself, whether it is like get an like a part-time job to save up and eventually go travel with Itsuomi, her getting her passport. Like she really does put in so much effort into doing things, and she wants to do things independently. Like if she needs help, she'll ask for help, but she doesn't want things to be like handed to her just because she's deaf.
Yeah, I I, I agree full-heartedly. I'm trying to think of what I feel like the legacy is. I think like on like a whole genre level,
Hmm.
just the fact that you can have you can tell a story from a different perspective that doesn't
Yes.
turn it into an after school special where it's
Hmm.
like this is why making fun of disabled people is bad. Like you can why we need more diverse stories and why we need stories that in it I think another thing with a sign of affection is like it details Yuki's experience without being like an explainer Def 101.
Hmm.
And I love that because I feel like that's how stories should be told. Like if you really want to you could go to Google and Google like deafness. Like it's not walking people through this is her hearing aid or this and that. And I think that that's such a great way to tell stories and why we need more
Yes.
of those stories because it's also like the more we don't have stories like that. That's why people are infantilizing her. That's why
Hmm.
people feel like Itsuomi's taking advantage of her because they don't see any representation of deaf people being in relationships. Maybe they don't know deaf people and I'm speaking from a bias because my brother-in-law's deaf, and I had many like me and my husband been together 11 years at this point. But when I first met him, had never been close to someone who was deaf, so I had a lot of like preconceived notions and things that I said. I remember one time I was trying to like I don't know sign language, but I was trying to like do something because he grew up in Dominican Republic,
Hmm.
so they have their own sign language, and
Yes.
you can actually communicate with him in a certain way without like sign language.
Hmm.
And I was trying to tell him something, and his mom was like, and I love her, she's amazing. She was like, "He's deaf, not stupid," and I like immediately was like, wow, I fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, immediately I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, I was like, I don't know what I was doing. He didn't take it no type of way, but I think like that is because I had that and like reading the story, I'm like, this is a regular love story to me.
Yeah,
It's
it
kind
is.
of like how we read BL. Like, it's not like, oh, this is like you just see people as people, and I think
Hmm.
a sign of affection, and it's not the only story about disabilities, but I feel like it's a great story because it's like this is just a regular shojo. The one
Yeah.
person happens to be deaf, but it's not just about her being deaf. It's
Hmm.
her love story that
Yes.
everyone deserves to have.
I completely agree. It humanized disabilities for someone, especially who is able-bodied, has never come across someone who's deaf, and maybe this is their first like exposure to it. You just when you start reading it or watching it, you're just basically seeing a regular love story.
And that's what we need more. The world need more love.
Yes.
It's- when you think on a personal level, how has a sign of affection changed or impacted your life?
I feel like for me, especially since I don't have anyone close to me who is deaf, I was able to see like from their perspective. And the only times I have come across people who are deaf were when I used to work retail. A few of my customers, and then you like the first thing is like, oh my god, like how am I going to communicate with them? I don't know sign language. Like you kind of start like freaking out. But as soon as like, and it's so sad that they have to make the first step. It's like, no, you like, just like Yuki actually. It's like they took out their phone. It's like we can just communicate through the notes app. It doesn't need to be like this scary thing. Like, I was working like in the beauty space of doing makeup. It's like we both like makeup. We're both women who that like makeup. Like we can just chat about that, and you can tell me more about the products that you sell. And it just ended up being like a normal consultation. Just everything was done through, typing stuff in the notes app. But like we would have a little laugh, and it just ended up being completely normal consultation. And I feel like the more that we get these stories and just get to see different perspectives about like disability, whether it's like deafness or mute characters or, physically disabled characters, like as someone who's able bodied, you'll start seeing them as regular people like they're intended to be seen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of my impact, the story's impact on me. Aside from me just absolutely like falling in love with it, I
Hmm.
will say it's been one of my she's now a best friend, but when I met her around the time like that this started, and I was like, you have to read this, and we got like then she fell in love with it, and it's like we got so close on that. So I always think of a sign of affection, I always think of her because she loves it so much as I do. And I think another thing, as I've gotten more into like romances with adults,
Hmm.
it has been a good reminder of like young love. And I'm like, I probably was around the same age when I met my husband, and it's like,
Uh,
you're so far removed from that like watching this love story of like you're not you're over the teen years, but you're not quite an adult, and it
hmm.
just is like such a good reminder of like people's feelings are still valid and they're still complicated. And it's just like, as far removed as I am, like it's good seeing like, oh yeah, I remember when I was this age and I thought that the world was ending because of
No,
this
yeah.
one situation. So I feel that has been its like impact on me, like just remembering the love, the youthfulness love in a
Yes.
more, not all the way back to high school.
Yeah, like it did bring me back to like when I was first starting college, and everything's like brand new. You get to like these large lecture halls and you're like, oh my God, like who are these people? Like, what am I going to do here? So, yeah, it did bring me back to that time. And I found myself relating a lot to Yuki, especially as like an introverted person
Hmm.
as well. Like, just being so overwhelmed by like a brand new surrounding, new people. And, then you find yourself a new love, and you're not quite sure how they feel about you. So it just adds to the anxiety.
Yes. It's so funny you said that like, when you first go to college. I don't know if you had this experience in high school. They're like, college is in high school.
Oh
Life will
yeah.
be. It's like they drilled that into this isn't high school no more. Like, and then you get to college and they're like, oh yeah, girl, whatever. Like,
Yeah. No, they scare the crap out of me. In high school, they're
mhm.
like, "You're not going to be able to get away with this and that, and you got to be more serious." And then I get into college, I'm like, "Dude, there's people like showing up in their pajamas to like lecture."
They did not care as much as the
So,
teachers told you they were gonna care. So something that it made me think of when you said the college, we didn't talk about her, but her best friend, oh my
oh, I
god.
love her best friend, Rin. She
Yes,
is so cute.
I that's the she one thing about me is I love like stories that have like friends because I'm such a
Mm.
friend person. Like
Mhm.
I'm like I hate when people like pedalize romantic relationships and then it's like F your friends and it's like no, I love friends. And I think she's such a great friend and she's like the champion for Yuki and she's a
Yes.
champion for Yuki. Like she's their number one shipper and
Oh,
I was
yes.
just like I just love her. I love her, and I'm like you. I want you to have your happy ending
Yes.
with the with the cousin. I'm just like you deserve all the good
I love her
things.
so much. I think it was like almost a year and a half ago. I went to a hairdresser, took the picture of her. I'm like, I want her haircut. I love her style, love her personality, and her little relationship with Itsuomi's cousin is just it's so cute.
It is so cute, and I love how she is just like genuinely there for Yuki, and she's like, "Come on, like you'll stay at my house," and like
Hmm.
that girlhood that's represented, like that's also such a like I love that the creators like haven't lost that sight
Yeah.
of them and even like when they make the relationship official like they're doing double dates and then you see like Yuki still confiding in her and Yuki then cheering her on with the cousin and it's like yes this is such a great portrayal of like those friends that you have in your 20s and you're like yes let's go
Yes.
to the bar to see that guy while I'm here with the bartender like
Yes.
yes they're so cute.
I love her. And
She's perfect.
yeah, and the little friendship, like when you get to see like their chat log, it's just like, dude, those two are just like that's how that's how friends text. Like it's so
Yes.
informal. You'll send a little like picture emojis. Like it's just I don't know, so familiar. So yeah,
Yes. And also, now that you said that, that's one thing that I loved how they did in the anime, how they portrayed the text message. I just
yeah,
love, I don't know, I'm a sucker for like little cute details like that. But the way they told the texting, I was like, this is adorable. So, with that, we've come to the end. But are there any fun facts or random things that you know about the series that you'd like to share?
oh my god, I didn't come prepared.
No, it's okay. Sometimes people know stuff, and
Yeah,
sometimes people I never remember stuff. So
about the series. Well, we did talk about the fact that like the creators consulted with
Mhm.
actual like Japanese sign language experts. So they made sure it was accurate as hell in the manga and also in the anime. I guess maybe as a fun fact, but also promoting something, the creators are going to be in New York this, I believe, upcoming October. So if
Yes.
you're in NYC, go see them because I cannot see them.
It's and then it's also
Fujita from Wotakoi. Uh-huh. I'm like, dude, they went hard for the girls this year.
and then they're like, "We'll throw in Fire Force.
Yes.
We'll throw in Fire Force. You could come, creator Fire
I'm just it
Force."
made me so happy to see them like champion so much for, series that are done for like a female demographic because
Hmm.
and they know this. I know people that work at Kodansha, like oftentimes we feel very left out of this manga space because
Yes.
everything is still very much catered towards the male demographic. And of course, there's a lot of, female fans that like the JJK and Chainsaw Man and all of these big shonen series, but like shojo and josei series are rarely ever marketed to be for like the general appeal. You
Hmm.
have like the Apothecary Diaries, which I love, and that's a seinen, but that one's all like I see it marketed towards like a general audience,
Yes.
which is great. But I feel like a lot of shojo and josei should be marketed as that because there's still a lot of misogyny in the space. And when a lot of readers find out, like, oh, this series was written for a female market, they're like, I'm not interested. But
Mm-hmm.
if you were into the Apothecary Diaries that's written by a female creator, why not give a chance to other series that are written by female creators? It shows that you're interested in the storytelling. Like, why does, you know, the demographic have to play so much of a role in like the stigma around the
Mm-hmm.
series? Like, just give it a shot. You might be shocked that you like a lot of shojo and josei.
Yes, it's wild how people are so brazen with it. Like you just can tell, or when they watch something like and they'll be like, "Oh, shojo vibes," and
Mm,
you're like, "Okay, but this is a seinen. Like, what are you talking about?" And they're like, or the one meme that it was like, born to shojo, like forced to shonen, and you're
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, okay,
Hmm.
guys, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I completely agree, and I do wish more people. Like, it's so funny because I'm like, I when I tell people on Whatsacore, I'm not usually like a recommender
Hmm.
because I'm also like, I have a complicated relationship with recommending things to people, but I'm always like, Wotakoi is so fun. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a love letter to being a fan in your 30s of something. And I'm always like, you check this out. Like, don't, why is it like, oh, you have to be a female, you have to be like a woman to love this story? And it's like, no.
Anyone can really get into that series. I find that a lot of my quote unquote like normie friends really got into Otakoi because you don't need to be like in the anime or manga sphere if you're just an adult working a regular job that happens to have a nerdy interest. Like, it's something that you can just get into very easily.
It's such a good story, and oh yeah, that's what we were. It's like the whole
Yes. Uh-huh.
people missing out on great stories because of
Hmm.
demographics. And actually, my conversation with Colleen, we had an extended bit about that because it's unfortunate that there's so many. But I also like, and I say this full heartedly, I do not care about people's opinions if they don't watch JoJo. Like,
Hmm.
your anime opinions, I don't care if you watch 10,000 anime. If you do not watch or read shoujo or josei, your opinions are valid to me. Like, I'm sorry, because I just feel like there's such a gap in your thinking, and the fact
Hmm.
that women have literally paved the way, and like some of the biggest reasons you even have anime and manga is because of women creators. Like, let's not act like Sailor Moon didn't pave a whole generation for people.
Yeah, yeah. To
So
me, like
yeah.
the funny, have you seen the memes of like the dude like saying that they won't read anything shoujo or whatever or anything written by a female, and then their like profile picture is like Full Metal
Yeah.
Alchemist. It's like,
Okay, that I really relate to Ed. It's like, who
women
wrote?
can create a good series, blah blah blah. It's like, have
Sure.
you looked into who created the series that you have in your profile picture? Okay.
Okay. Is there anything that you have to promote that people should look forward to this fall, or any just upcoming content that you are working on?
Well, for the next 2 months, I'm going to be in Japan. So hopefully, I can bring some more Japanese content into my social media. But I'm going to mainly focus more on YouTube just because I am enjoying the long form content. I really want to take the time to actually see more of fandom culture firsthand and see how like like female fans interact with like new releases, like new shoujo releases and BL release. I just kind of want to see what it's like for them over there because I do know that Japan has deviated a lot from physical print and mainly read digital manga, but they still print like the manga itself. So I just kind of want to understand more about like why they're preferring digital over print because it's a total 180 from how like we consume
Hmm.
manga. I feel like for the most part, everyone that I know that likes manga reads physical. Maybe a few digital here and there, but it's mostly for like manhwa and webtoons. But for the manga, it's usually like physical books.
Yeah, I thought about that too because I follow Deb Aoki. I think you
Yeah,
know
Deb.
her. She always talks about like those trends and things like that. And it's like for me, and I feel like maybe it's the pessimistic side of me, but we've seen it happening. Like media just disappears. Like it just
Yes.
disappears. It's not accessible, and it's like you can't trust digital like things like unless you can actually like download them and have them, which I only found like one publisher that did that, and now they've ghosted. I don't even know what they're doing. June manga, come back. um my series is
Yeah.
not finished. I don't know what you're doing with that, but yeah, it's like I there is definitely like a lot of that fear, like once if I don't have it, it's not available, and then things change, and like there's stories that like I have some of the OG Clint manga, and there's things that I'm like, oh my god, they like Wish. I did a whole video on Wish and how when they translated it, they gendered the main character. And I only have access to that version, so I had to reread it through a different lens. And I was like, wow, the story takes a completely different turn when you don't make
Yes.
these type of
Yeah.
so it's like I definitely see that, and I'm definitely curious about that because I have heard that too. And just like the whole adaptation, and even now, like I'll see so I have like a Furukiya subscription, and like with Renta and stuff, and even just the way they're now formatted to be scrolled.
No, no, no.
So it's crazy.
I feel like too, like with like the English market when it comes to digital manga apps, it's so scattered. So I want to see if it's more centralized in Japan or like how are they justifying like consuming manga digitally over physical? Because like for me, if the app starts charging me per chapter, I'm like absolutely not. Like no, it ends up being more when you could buy it digitally than just getting the physical book.
Yes. And I don't even want to. I was like, I should calculate my chapter because I only buy manhwa chapters, and I try to keep it to one platform. But then there's some outliers because the thing is, like, I'm just like I'm. This sounds so funny, but I'm too grown for pirating. Like, I just can't. Like, I have money. I was like, I want to give
Yeah,
these
yeah,
people money.
yeah, yeah.
And but then it's like so I have to really just like make peace with myself that I'm like I can't consume everything, and I'm like I can justify paying $10 a week sometimes because I'm reading too many things. I'm like that's a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah, yeah.
but it is it, and I'm like I can't also do that for manga. Like manga, I'm just gonna have to wait. Like I'm just gonna have to wait. And I think luckily being in the reviewer space, I've been able to get access to like arcs and or like the copies directly from the publisher, and that has
Yes.
helped because I'm like, bro, I'm gonna go
It
poor.
gets really expensive.
It's so it but
Yeah.
so I'm very interested in that and just like because I mean we see it in like some of the I don't know if you've seen Run with the Wind. There's a one character, his name is Prince, and his whole room is just manga. He's like obsessed with manga, and the
Oh,
whole room is manga. And I mean, manga in Japan is cheaper,
yeah, it
obviously,
is.
and it's completely different printing. But I as a biased person, I love your Japan content. I'm very picky with Japan content because
Dude, there's so much like again,
grifting.
the grifting, rage bait too.
Yes,
Yeah, because
you'll never believe this.
I remember last year when I was getting prepared for my little trip, which I called like my appetizer trip. I just wanted to get a taste of, whether I could see myself vacationing there for a longer term. I came across like, oh, it's so hard. It's impossible to find trash can bins, and it's impossible to find trash cans and not trash can, bathrooms and the elevators. You're going to be walking up and down the stairs. I'm like, I went there. I'm like, dude, everything they said was impossible is so easily. It's you can find it so easily. Bathrooms were in every single station. You can go into like a 7-Eleven and find a bathroom. Trash cans were in every single convenience store. And there's like convenience stores in almost every single corner. I'm like, these people, I mean, I get it. you get easy views, but
Mm-hmm.
also you're just creating so much fear for someone who hasn't ever stepped foot outside of like maybe the country,
Yeah.
and maybe this is their first like big international trip, and they're worrying about these things that in retrospect like don't really matter. Just enjoy your time.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, I don't consume any of this. Like, I've had friends, if everybody's like, it's so crazy that you haven't gone. I'm like, but I suffer from flight anxiety, but we're getting over it. For all of you listening, watching, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Lada, thank you so much for coming on my podcast and having this
Thank
conversation. I
you.
knew you were the person. I knew you were the trusted person that I can talk about my love of A Sign of Affection with. It way with someone who understands, who's also older. It's just grown, because grown people, we access things differently. But thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. I appreciate it.
Yay!